Disclaimer: the comments made in this video are intended solely for ENT purposes and are not intended to harm, offend anyone in a world where rainbow flags dominate cityscapes and pronouns are plastered on every profile. You'd think the woke activists have claimed total victory, but wait, there's a twist. While some demand even more recognition, others are stepping up to drop some serious truth bombs. I've compiled 3 instances where common sense collides head-on with extreme wokeness. This is when woke people get owned instantly. Part 4, starting with the time when a teacher schooled a woke student so hard the school board lost their minds. It's a showdown where common sense collided with cancel culture, and our based educator didn't just disagree, he owned the walkie using his own logic. Just watch. So these guys want to talk about J.K. Rowling. Is that? So what's going on with that? What do you want to know? She's had a pretty controversial past. I just want to know, like, what are your thoughts on it? And, like, do you still like her work despite her bigoted opinions? So let's get specific, though. Let's define bigoted opinions. What opinions are bigoted? We're going to treat this as a thought experiment. I'm not going to say what's right or wrong or what way to think. The whole point is to learn how to think, not what to think. Yeah. So when you say big, you're starting with the conclusion that given her bigoted opinions. So first, let's start with, does she have bigoted opinions? So when you say big, she has had a history of being extremely transphobic. You've heard. So what can you give me an example? If you look at her Twitter, I think you could see a few things. If you want, I could try and see if you can find one. So one of these tweets that she came out with in 2019, she said, "Dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real." So you find that bigoted? What do you find about it? It was deemed transphobic. Like, I myself, do you find that transphobic yourself? I don't really have an opinion on it, but I'm just going with what a lot of other people have said. So let's pause it. Let's not go with what other people are saying. Let's try and learn how to critically think. So let's analyze the tweet ourselves. So that statement, do you see anything problematic disregarding other people's opinions? Right from the start, Warren Smith keeps his cool. This student's clearly been influenced by woke media, but Warren doesn't lose his temper. Instead, he listens carefully. Then he uses the student's own words to teach a powerful lesson. Watch how he calmly picks apart the woke argument, leaving everyone in the classroom stunned. So that statement, do you see anything problematic disregarding other people's opinions? She did try and pin some things on a specific group of people. Where does she do that? Can you read that? But force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real. So when I hear that, I'm interpreting that as meaning if a woman says that, saying that there's a difference between men and female and then being attacked as transphobic, I think that's what she's saying by attacking someone for stating that sex is real. That is exactly what she's saying. Is that transphobic to you? So to me, no, stating that sex is real is not transphobic. It's just a fact of life. It exists. So is there anything you disagree with in that tweet? I can't really see anything that I myself disagree with, but I can see why some people would think, oh, this is offensive, we can't have that here or something. Because sure, there's an apology tweet. Let's read that. What does she say there? I haven't read that. I respect every trans person's right to live any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it is hateful to say so. You see anything problematic there? She's apologizing. So no, not really. If I could read it again, it sounds like the same. A very similar statement as what she was just saying. She's basically saying, like, I have nothing to me. This is what I interpreted as I have nothing against someone being trans your life, but you just don't get to impose on my... You can live how you want. I can live how I want. Yeah, and let's all, exactly. So I guess now that we're looking at it, like, oh, there's not much difference between me or her, why do you, Do you think it's fair that that she's being attacked by a large group of people, and people are calling her, like you said at the beginning of this conversation? You said, given the fact that J.K. Rowling is transphobic, how do you feel about Harry Potter? Now, retroactively looking at that statement, do you think that that was the best way to phrase, no, I feel like an idiot now? It's okay though, but this is why we do this, to learn how to think. There's been so in my class specifically, as like in our class, there's been quite a few people in there who have been saying like, oh, she's transphobic. She's transphobic. I've not until today. I haven't really thought about it because I just believed oh, there's 5 people saying it. It must be correct. Yeah, that's interesting. That was great. It's crazy how most of these woke folks can't think for themselves, and when someone tries to teach them how to use their brain, they end up getting fired. Talk about backwards, right? But not every woke person has the guts to admit when they're wrong, because when this woman gets hit with some hard truth bombs, instead of facing the facts, she runs right out of the room. It's wild to see what happens when these people can't handle a dose of reality. Give me the hard questions. LGBTQ, what's up? You heard me, Q. LGBTQ, yep, what about it? She cuts Vic Ramaswamy off mid-sentence to scream her crazy ideas, and you can tell he's not having it. This guy's face says it all. He's done playing nice. Let's see what happens next. How about this? I give you the mic, and we hear what you have to say. And then I'm going to answer you, and you'll hear what I have to say. What everybody else here has to say. Does that sound like a good deal? I don't need a mic. I can speak louder. Well, stand up. Tell me your name and state your question. My name is Alexis Case, and I grew up here, okay, in this town. LGBTQ is a serious situation in this world today. There are children that get bullied because they are gay, they're lesbian, they're transgender. I don't need that. Okay, you're welcome to have it if you want. I don't need. You get to ask your question, but after that, you're going to hear me give my answer. So I'll let you finish. What is Jan? What is your stance on LGBTQ? Good, thank you for your question. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to go into the level of depth that I don't usually go into on a campaign trail, but I'm going to do it because you asked the question. You deserve an answer. LGBTQ. There's so many letters, they've just added a plus at the end. That's where we are now. What's going on? So the same movement, because if we're going to call that one thing, let's play it fair. The same movement that said that the sex of the person you're attracted to is hardwired on the day you're born. That was the premise of the gay rights movement for it to count as a civil right. That movement is now saying that your own biological sex is totally fluid over the course of your life. Hypocrite, you can't believe both those things. Well, I think I'm going to get to a deeper say. That's where I was about a year or two ago, but I think there's something deeper going on, and I'll tell you what it is. So the same movement, and by the way, let's think about the women's rights movement in this country, which said there's many ways to be a woman. You can have long hair, short hair, you can wear a skirt, you can wear jeans. Now says that, oh, if actually you want to behave a certain way, that means you're a man. So I think that the hypocrisies go all the way down, and I'll tell you what's going on. You can't believe both of those things at the same time if you're operating according to principles of sheer logic, but you can if you're adopting a faith, a cult-like belief system. So this is controversial for me to say, but I'm going to tell you what. I believe that transgenderism specifically is a mental health disorder. I believe it's a mental health condition. Okay, nobody cares what they think. Well, no. We're going to finish this. This is good. We have to have open conversation in this country, but I don't think the compass thing to do, health disorder, it's how they feel. Well, let me, if I'm going to give you a chance to respond if you'd like, but we can't have an open debate in this country if we're not able to state our views how they feel. This one heats up fast, but don't think it's over yet. We're just getting to the good part. Just when you think she's going to storm off, Vic pulls a total power move. He actually gets her to come back and face the truth. Watch closely as he breaks down her argument so hard, she does a complete 180 in just a matter of minutes. This walkie-e goes from screaming her head off to shaking Vic's hand, not able to say how they feel. That's how they feel. And you know what? I'll tell you a story and you deserve to hear this. I met 2 young women in this race about 6 months ago. Their names were Chloe and Katie, 2 young women. They're in their 20s now. Both of them had their breasts cut off. One of them had her uterus removed. Okay, they're in their 20s. They regret that decision. One of them wants to have kids. She'll never have kids. The other one will never breastfeed her children. They'll never be the same because they had that done to them when they were teenagers. So, no, when a young person shows up and says, my gender doesn't match my biological sex, they're asking for help. But you just said 20, no, they happened to them when one girl was 13. When it happened to her, she's in her 20 now and regrets it. This is what's wrong in this country. We will look back at this and say this was barbaric that we allowed this to happen in this country. That is not compassion. That is cruelty. And so I don't think the right thing to do is I'm not going to villainize those people. You don't villainize people who are going through suffering, but you have to be willing to say when a kid shows up and says, my gender doesn't match my biological sex, you have to be able to say what else is going wrong at home, what else might be going wrong at school, get to the bottom of what's going on, help that person with compassion, with dignity. So my view is this. If you're an adult, you're free to live your life however you want, as long as you're not hurting somebody else. If you're a man, you can dress how you want. If you're a woman, you can dress how you want, identify how you want. We're a free country, and I'm not going to stop you, but kids are not the same as adults, and we have to protect our children. And I'm going to go further than that. We can't change the way that women and men compete in sports. We can't do that. We can allow you to live your life the way you want to, but we can't change the way that we operate in our own life. And I'm going to finish this thought, then you get to respond because I think this is good. We don't do this enough open debate. I love this. I think what we've had in our country before is a tyranny of the majority, and that's what we worry about. But right now, we don't have a tyranny of the majority. What we have in this country right now is a tyranny of the minority. That's what we have right now. A tyranny of the fringe minority that tells you to shut up, sit down, and do as you're told. No, we have to stand for what is true. And so I promise to you, you will have a chance to respond. I'm going to keep my promise. You tell me this is good. We don't do this enough in our country anymore. Open conversation. Tell me I was a child when I knew that I was kid. Not the fact that I wanted to change my gender, but living here in this town, I knew that I was a lesbian, that I was attracted to females, and you know what? But I had to hide it. And when did you go? When was that in the 90s? Oh no, let's see, I came out when I was 19. So, I was born in 1983. So, I think where we are now, we're in the similar generation. I think things today aren't what they were. I grew up in Ohio in the 1990s, and we're in a different place today. And I think this could be a very productive converse. I don't get to do this in the campaign trail often, where we all are in our own echo chambers and silos. So it's good for us to talk to each other. I like that. Something funny's happened, I think, in the last few years in this country with the civil rights movement. It's right when we get to closest to the promised land of true racial equality that we then start obsessing over systemic racism. It's right when we get to the point in our national history where whoever you are, you can marry who you want, where you want, if you want, whatever gender they are, that we start then obsessing over the sexual identity revolution. You know, what's actually funny right now is many people who are lesbian or gay are being taught to say that, hey, if you're a woman-attracted woman, you're not a woman, you're a man. So that's the transgender movement. The L and the G, first of all, don't have that much to do with each other. The G and the T don't have as much to do with each other, but we're clubbing all of these things up to create more division. I hate the term persons of color. You want to know why you take 100 different cultures, combine them into one thing that's designed to be opposed to this other thing we call white. And so the way I view this is you are free to live your life the way you wish to, as long as you don't hurt anybody else in return, and I'm free to do the same thing too. But that doesn't mean we change the way men and women compete in sports. That doesn't mean we change the way men. And I don't think that just because you identify as a man doesn't mean that you're entitled to a trophy. You agree. Do you agree with me on that? That's you agree with me on that. I get you. You agree with me on that. All right. That's different because men shouldn't be swimming with women in women's sports competitions. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's different. That's what I'm talking about. The fact that he managed to make her listen to his points while also not demeaning her and giving her respect when she was from the start totally opposed to him as a person is absolutely amazing, but not everyone's smart enough to hear the other side, because this next guy is something else. Even after getting owned over and over, he just won't shut up. It's like he loves the sound of his own voice more than facts, right? So the Department of Education there, something very interesting, right? And I want to hear what your solution for this would be, because I don't know what it would be. So the Department of Education is responsible for making sure that vulnerable children in school districts are protected, kids with disabilities, right? They make sure that kids who are LGBTQ are valued. They make sure that transgender people who TR does not even acknowledge their existence, no wrong, okay, value their existence. How dare you say something like that? Like, seriously, value their existence? Yeah, you should sit down. I mean, seriously, let's talk about it. Value their existence way seriously. Wait, value. There exist. Can I ask you a question? Please, do you acknowledge as more than one gender? There's two genders? Yes, there's more than one. Applause gender. Do you acknowledge that trans about the Department of Education? Would you acknowledge that transgender kids need special protections in school? Absolutely yes. That could be done on a local basis. It doesn't take a federal bureaucracy to look after LGBT students, but so there's two issues that I have right now, and I know that it's still about the Department of Education because they are the ones that enforce this regulation. So what I think is interesting, right, is that if you turn this over to local control, right? So then the kid in Scottsdale might be protected and the SK kid in South Phoenix might not, right? We know that this creates a patchwork of protections where we can't even define what it means to be American because one American 10 miles apart, right? And I'm shocked that you're offended because you would hit us all for being offended and trigger. Actually, I'm not offended. I'm laughing. Okay. But so what I think you're missing, right, is that when you say that, and again, I misspoke, right? But when you say that transgender folks can't identify that way, right? Or that there's not more than one gender, right? You're not valuing their existence. No, actually, I'm saying there's two genders. And this idea that there is 47 genders in counting is wrong. It's non-biological. It's anti-science and it's harmful. All people anti-science. It is anti-science just because Brown University says there's 47 genders and pick one doesn't mean it necessarily is true. They used to call this gender dysphoria, okay? There's two genders. Can someone who might be born as a man choose to be a woman? Yes, there's two genders. Pick one. I value their existence. How dare you say something like that? All right, okay, back to what I was saying. So you were a lot there. So Department of Education, can you stop talking over her? Can you let her do her job, please? She put a lot of time into this. Listen to this guy. He's saying right after every sentence, it's like he's trying to convince himself more than anyone else. And get this, when he tells Charlie, can you stop talking over her? Please, you'd think he'd let the lady speak. But nope, this hypocrite goes right ahead and talks over her himself. Do you think that the mom in South Phoenix, yes, tell what he said to what he said. Do you think that the mom in South Phoenix, right, who works 3 jobs, right, is up late trying to take care of her kids, right, and then her kid is discriminated against in school, right, and a lawyer costs X amount of money, right, and public defenders are overworked, they're not at the level that they need to be to take on a school district or the state if it got to that level or to go all the way to the Supreme Court, right? So then this becomes, again, the idea of privilege, right? You assume that everything works privilege. I'm sorry, this is getting you've talking a lot. Can you give me another 30 seconds? And then you can go on going on, right? So this is the idea that, right, you assume that everything will automatically work for you, right? You wake up every day and every system works for you without having to worry about whether or not you can access it in the first place. If you are a person of color and your child is being discriminated against in South Phoenix, you do not have access to the courts, right? What about the ACLU? Don't they represent a lot of students that absolutely so? They represent everyone, RESP. It's not for everyone, right? These folks do not have, all it takes is one court decision and then they can't do it again or else they go to jail. Do you think that that's how the justice system works, actually is how it works? That's how the Little Rock N worked. That's how integration in the South works. That's how desegregation works. That's how the Civil Rights Act work. Talk about that. Actually, I do get to talk about that. You don't get to claim these great civil rights wins as part, actually, the Republican Party that had all those great, and that's another lie. All right? My mom's watching at home, right? And she taught me not to lie, so I won't do it, right? And hi, Mom, I love you was strong. Thurman, a Democrat or Republican. But so here's the issue that, and I'm not going to get into this, and with what I'm talking about is the idea that he can take credit for all these things and then twist them historically to serve the talking points of the people that already have bought into Turning Point. You're not going to get new people when you take credit for what the Black community did or what the Latino community did or what the LGBT community does every single day. You don't get to do that. And before you start talking again, you have to understand that this is an identity issue and you never get to talk about this. Let's stop with the identity. You don't get to talk about keep talking. If you want to interrupt me, you can. I'm just going to keep talking. You done it every second that I talked into the microphone. Can I respond? Yes, a response, and then we'll move on. Privilege. What a bunch of nonsense. If you want to be seriously, I mean privilege. Everyone has some element of privilege. Some people are smarter. Some I have privilege me. Let me, okay, I let you do your piece, privilege, okay? Privilege. If you want to succeed in this country, you do 3 simple things. America is still a meritocracy. You graduate from high school, you get a job, and you get married before you have kids, no matter your skin color, no matter where you come from. Are some people born with less? Yes, absolutely. Do we need increased opportunity? Yes, absolutely. And every policy I advocate for is increasing opportunity, not perpetrating victimhood, not trying to say you're privileged because you're a certain color and you're a certain gender, or you're privileged because you come from a certain part of the country. Instead, talk about the policies, the data, the math. You know what doesn't have privilege? Mathematics. You have not refuted a singular data point that I have brought up tonight. Not one. Do this as math. All this is what happens when ignorance tries to debate intelligence. Charlie cooked this guy to oblivion. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. If you want to fight this woke culture, make sure you've subscribed for more such videos.